everyone, welcome to today's episode. Today I have the privilege to welcome Professor Bharat Bhasker, who is the current director of IIM Raipur. Before joining IIM Raipur, he was associated with IIM Lucknow for over 2 decades, having served in various capacities, including being the acting director of IIM Lucknow in 2015. His areas of expertise include data management, network security, and software engineering, and authority in the area of digital economy. He has published multiple papers in international academic journals of high repute and authored several books. Sir, it's an honor to have you over here, and we cannot wait to have your wisdom shared with the rest of the audience. Sir, the first question that I have for you is something that every prominent academician is being asked lately, and that is, where do you think the education industry is heading, and what are the changes that these schools are taking up considering the post-COVID situation?
Right. You see, the digital revolution is already on. And if you notice that 2010 onwards, the whole world has been changing, whether it's a world of education, whether it's a world of industry, whether it's a world of supply chain management, services. The digital was the in thing. Even in India, post 2014-15 period, and even further accentuated by this government's strategy of going digital in every frontier, mygov.com, demonetization, pushing for the UPI interface, so payment coming digital, has become imperative for all sectors to be adopting the efficiency which comes along with the digital economy. Now, what COVID has done is that we were building infrastructure because of this past 3-4 years. As I said, technology was available from 2010 onwards, but adaptation of the technology was happening at its own decent pace, because human beings take time to change, adapt to new technology, get used to, etc., and so on. So as it was happening, the speed was what would be a natural process by which the adaptation was happening. COVID created an unprecedented situation. We are all aware. Suddenly we were locked inside the houses, but the business had to go on, right? And the only option available to conduct the businesses was the network platforms, especially the business which could be transliterated or transformed into digital format, began to be accelerated. You saw a variety of the businesses like software industry business. Many of the companies are today talking about they will be doing work from home forever, or adopting a significant workforce work from home. Education sector is another such field where adaptation was happening already. It's not a new thing. As I said, 2010 onward, adaptation is happening. India was well placed in several ways, because in 2000 we started an NPTEL project, which is a tele-enabled learning or a distant learning, and idea was to enhance the quality of education and quality of teachers in engineering institutions by the higher end institutions, so education can reach the masses. Further on, Swayam Prabha, Swayam as a channel, Swayam as a MOOC platforms, etc. had come in, and MOOCs are the things which are talked about everywhere. Right. Many universities have gone online. Even we as IIM Raipur had actually moved our executive training to a significant degree to online or e-learning platforms. Actually, 80% of our e-learning platforms from 2018 end or 2019 onward has been on e-learning platforms. We've been offering courses through our partners on the e-learning platforms. So it was happening anyway. We were educating, talking, teaching, even adapting and learning how to teach cases in online environment, because the management education requires lots and lots of uses of cases. So it was all happening all around us. PGP, we thought, and we always believe that it's something very unique product. It's something which is a flagship of ours. We really groom these students, and they groom each other, being in a campus together. So it's not only the education you impart or the knowledge you impart in the classroom, it's beyond that a manager is created. It's the amalgamation of all these things which come together in creating what IIMs create as a great managers. Now that has been forced to move on to the online platform, even though temporarily. But even temporarily, adaptation, since the platforms are available, more or less every IIM, every top management school, and I'm sure all other schools as well, are quickly learning, quickly preparing the platforms or tuning their platforms because the platforms are available and getting into online mode. As I said, the education of a IIM type may require some other elements, but at least will not be delayed beyond a point. We
Right.
can continue with this education, but there are other factors which are learning, and now the education can reach the masses. So post COVID, one of the impacts I feel is going to be democratization of the education, access to the high quality education which was limited to people who could clear CAT, could compete through this intense competition, etc. and so on, yet being limited in numbers. But those many managers, many technologists who are in the field were unable to access or get access to this education. So post-COVID, one impact will be permanent in nature. They will also have access to the same kind of education, not the same amalgamation of the experience which our PGP or a MBA batch will have, right?
Right. So, sir, I'll pick up something that you said, that the COVID-19 have actually forced the education institutions to shift to the online platform. And we have actually seen a paradigm shift from the traditional classrooms to the online classrooms. So, do you think that, like, how do you think that IIM Raipur will actually, replicate the campus experience into the online world? Because it really matters both to the teachers and the students. Absolutely.
Right. There are two things. One is, for as I talk about my flagship or a MBA or a PGP program, as I said, I'm still firm believer that those programs do require that beyond the class human interaction, because the growth of human being happens with the human interaction as well. So
Absolutely.
there is an essential component of it. But what we are preventing from this is a delay. And in the process also learning that using a technology in the right mix, a great deal of that can be replicated, not replaced, the same experience. Replication, as I said, will require not only the Zoom like or a whichever WebEx or whichever platform you use, like meeting and delivery of a knowledge and maybe some interaction here and there. It requires us to move our classroom experience, prepare teachers to have backend channels.
Right.
So for example, in our classrooms, we are creating not only the classroom experience, but to replicate to certain extent the same experience. With every course will come a side interaction channel, where students and teachers will be available to each other beyond the hours, beyond that classroom, whatever the scheduled one and a half hour period, etc. and so on, and where the student to student, student to teacher, student to academic associate, all kind of interactions can happen, doubts can be cleared, etc. and so on. As I said, this is not the replacement. This is only a replication stopgap arrangement, because till human beings meet with each other, the same experience and same chemistry and same awakening doesn't happen of the human behavior, because our behavior in online environment is slightly different, or actually quite different in a person to person environment. So that is the fundamental change fact I see. But on the positive side, not this classroom or flagship program, the education which was not accessible to many of those managers in a country like India, in a growing economy, and especially when it's going to grow with the digital revolution, we can be leader, but we require thousands and thousands of managers which no great institutions like IIMs will be able to train. When I say IIM, I mean the top 20, top 30 institutions of the country. They will not be able to train that many managers which can feed the economy effectively. Many people, because of the economic reason, because of the family reason, because of the competitive spirit shown by these youngsters, will not be able to get through CAT. But they require to enhance their managerial skill. And that's why we are also launching, and one or two other IIMs have also launched EMBA program, where exact same input will provide, and that is accelerated because we've been thinking of doing it, debating whether the same experience can be and whatever extent it can be, etc., and so on. But the access to education is equally important as the high quality best of the world manpower we are a human power which we produce. So that is the important aspect that we are also learning here and launching those programs where working executives can be in their workplace, in the evening they can attend and yet have managerial skill going up. So from technologists, they can transform themselves into a future managers.
Absolutely. No, Professor, a survey, an international survey was actually conducted by a higher education consulting and digital marketing firm, where a lot of business school deans responded saying that they think that the health crisis that is caused by the coronavirus COVID-19 will accelerate the closure of business schools. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would say yes, to some extent, because as I said, many a time those great men with the great technologists who are in need of education, great students, the quality, if you take the total intake in the country of top 20 or even top 25 or top 30 management institutes, what is the total intake? Not more than 15 to 20,000. Even going all the way to 35 or whatever, you may stretch, this full-time education is available. In a country of 130 crores and dominated by youth needing that education, competition is so intense. I sometimes say the brighter people at times left out because they had a bad day, that one cat day or one interview day, which just didn't, they were not up to their full potential. Right? It's that competitive. So they end up at many of those low-end schools because they were really driven. Today, if high-end schools can expand their capacity, as I said, the hostel requirement and variety of the infrastructure requirement forces them not to be able to expand beyond a limit. But the online access to that education, probably to the, I'm talking about not a top 50 or so on, but a low-end schools will face a big threat because many of those students can get onto the e-platform and they'll be happier or more inclined to join the top 50, top 60 or whatever you want to call it, or top X schools rather than go to these schools where the quality of education is not up to the mark. So quality is going to be the prime parameter, and expanding capacity through democratization or access to education by high-end schools will definitely put a tremendous pressure at low-end schools to raise their quality or disappear from the scenario.
Beautifully explained. Beautifully explained. So, Professor Bhaskar, you have had decades of experience. And from that experience, if I ask you that, which is a global business school that you look up to, what would you say to that?
There are various business schools I look up to because I have a technology background myself, who is converted into a management arena. And coming from that background, of course, people talk about Harvard, Wharton, etc. as a great schools. For me, Stanford stands out as a great business school for altogether this reason. They leverage the technology and management skills together. And one of the driving factors, that's why the Silicon Valley, the contribution there, that's why is tremendous. Not to undermine the great global business schools like Harvards and Whartons and the kind of names come to the mind of people as the first thing. They're doing great role in the financial arena and variety of other fields of the management and even being innovative in great areas. But here is the school which belongs to which is driving the future, because they are the technology driver as a university, the technology departments are a technology driver. At the same time, the management school is leveraging on that technology. That's why if you see the autonomous car, all these things happening around Silicon Valley also require great managers of the future, and these schools are able to see much in advance that what kind of models will work. Will these autonomous or what you call the driverless cars, who will be able to drive them? Who will be able to afford them? Do they require a new kind of a business model for them to be sustainable? Right? So these business graduates having access to that upcoming technology, think of those future managerial roles, are able to, and the faculty there is able to train them for those future managerial role. And that is why for me, any school which has a technology leveraging or at a back end leveraging on the management education is the what I look up to. And that's why we are really having a great focus on digital economy and digital arena to put focus of IIM Raipur as well.
Right. So the very process of evaluation plays a major role in the evolution of not only the student but the educational institute as well. So how do you think that the regulators need to actually change how they evaluate, and how is IIM Raipur heading towards that change?
All right. See, regulators' role is to actually protect the consumer to a greater extent. I put it this way. Because
Right.
education is something very creative. Education is something very evolving. Education is something which cannot be regulated at the evolution end. It can be regulated only at the bottom end. So regulators' role is limited to fixing the bottom line, where it should be. So whatever that accreditation processes, they're great. They at least ensure the minimum quality is guaranteed by getting X class of accreditation or a category, some certain category of accreditation, etc., and so on. There are at least certain minimums are there. It's a required for a large country because otherwise all kind of business oriented people will come into education. They may leave a generation of a youth which may not have adequate skills developed in them, yet have spent the money and the time and resources on them. So in that sense, regulator has a great role. But at a high end, IIM, etc., and the top schools, beyond regulators, minimum standards is what is the requirement, because regulator will put a regulation when that becomes a standard. So we at IIM Raipur look at, yes, accreditation is important, regulations are important. We need to be meeting that as a minimum criteria, not as a something aspirational that this is what if I acquire, we have done it. We should look at the future, where the future of my country is, where the future of management education is. Are we going to serve that future viewpoint rather than chasing the ball? We want to guess where the ball is going to be, and right, like a great football player doesn't run behind the ball. He always guesses in advance where the ball is going to arrive. And that's what the roles of IIMs or our top management schools, or top engineering schools in any country should be.
Seeing
So
the bigger picture altogether can make a huge difference, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. So, Professor, if I ask you that, where do you see IIM Raipur in the next 5 years? What is your vision on that?
Right. In next 5 years, what I see IIM Raipur, of course, our flagship program will remain flagship because that is the core of any IIM's business, if you want to call it that way. But beyond that, there are 2 or 3 arenas we are actually exploring and doing. One, we have been running Center for Digital Economy. We have been doing 1 or 2 conferences every year under Center of Digital Economy. So IIM Raipur will be a management school which will be known for producing managers who can thrive in a digital economy environment. That is one of the themes in which we are working. All our departments, all our areas of the research are aligned or driving towards that, where the digital economy is going to take us, number one. Number two, as I said, 2018 end itself we decided and we started the access to education for as many people as possible. I can't say all, as many promising managers as possible. Under that, we have launched that 6 months program, 1 year program, so people can upskill their skills of the management in a certain domain. But this year, as of November this year, we are launching a full-fledged MBA program with that 1,000 plus hours of contact hours, that what you call the regulators minimum requirement as a MBA program.
Right.
With some, it's a hybrid mode because with some campus interaction. And being in industry, they'll do in their own industry projects, and internship will be replaced by some kind of a project experience for them, etc. and so on. So we have tuned this program, redesigned this program, but as far as the coursework, content, etc. is concerned, and the faculty is concerned, it's going to be exactly same. Yes, the selection may be tougher there also because we don't intend to start with unlimited number of people. Still, first batches will be limiting, but the potential for growth is not limited by hostels here, right? Potential, if the program catches up and we learn further that we can give them a high quality education, probably we'll be multiplying that program in next 5 years to huge numbers, so that our economy is not strangled by shortage of good, well-trained management resources. So that's our vision for now.
Right. Beautifully explained. Thank you so much, Professor Bhasker, for making out time out of your busy schedule. It was an absolute honor to have you here. We cannot wait to have you back once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof.